Hello and welcome to my channel CBSE Simplified. My name is Anupam Mishra and today we are going to discuss this story. The name of the story is The Last Leaf. It is a very famous story written by a very well-known famous American writer named as O. Henry. And O. Henry was pen name of a poet whose real name was William Sidney Porter. This is the story about two friends, Sue and Johnsy. They were young artists and they used to live in a small rented apartment, and their flat was on the third story of an old house. So what the story tells us about, this story tells us about the positive mindset. If you have a positive mindset, you can do anything in your life. In this story, what happens, one of the friends, like I said, there were two friends, Sue and Johnsy, and one of the friends, Johnsy, she became ill. She became sick, and when she became sick, the doctor was called in and doctor examined, and the doctor was very surprised to see that she was not responding to any medicine. The doctor had prescribed her some medicines and she was not responding, and the doctor thought there was something wrong with this little girl as to why she was not responding. In spite of his best efforts, she was not being okay at all. And there was one more character in the story. We will talk about this character in the story later on. First, let us start the story and see what the story is all about. Alright. So Sue and Johnsy, the two young artists, shared a small flat. The flat was on the third story of an old house. So like I said, it is a story about two young girls. One of the name was Sue, S-U-E, and the name of other friend was Johnsy. And they were two young artists and they used to live in a small rented apartment, and their flat was actually situated on the third floor of an old house. So one day what happened, Johnsy fell seriously ill in November and she had pneumonia. This P is silent, it is pronounced as pneumonia. She would lie in her bed without moving, just gazing out of the window. Sue, her friend, became very worried. She sent for the doctor, although he came every day, but there was no change in Johnsy's condition. So like I said, one day she became very ill, seriously sick. And it was the month of November and she was suffering from pneumonia. So what she would do, she would keep on lying in her bed, she will not move here and there, and she will keep on looking out of his window, out of her room every time. And Sue, who was her best friend, she became a little worried about it, about the condition of Johnsy. So what she did, she called a doctor. The doctor came and the doctor examined her, and there was no improvement in her condition at all. So the doctor came every day. Every day the doctor would come and he would examine this girl, and in spite of his best effort, there was no improvement in the condition of Johnsy. So one day the doctor took Sue aside and asked her, is anything worrying Johnsy? So one day the doctor came and he just inquired that if there was something wrong with this little girl Johnsy as to why she was not responding to the medicines. No, replied Sue, but why do you ask? The doctor said, Johnsy, it seems, has made up her mind that she is not going to get well, and if she doesn't want to live, medicines will not help. So the doctor was worried and his concern was very genuine. He said, see, what I feel like that Johnsy has already decided that she is not going to get well. She had made up her mind that she wants to remain sick as long as she can, and she is not actually responding to the medicine. I am doing my best. So if she has decided that she does not want to live, medicines are not going to help her. So what her best friend did, Sue tried her best to make Johnsy take interest in things around her. She talked about clothes, fashions, but Johnsy did not respond. Johnsy continued to lie still on her bed. Sue brought her drawing board into Johnsy's room and started painting. To take Johnsy's mind off her illness, she whistled while working. So as a best friend, she did her best. Now, she was also worried about Johnsy's condition. What she did, as these two young girls were artists, so what she did, she started talking about clothes, she started talking about fashion, but Johnsy did not take any interest in any of these discussions. She will keep on lying in her bed. She will keep on looking outside her bed. What Sue did, she also brought her drawing board into her room so that she could engage her in talking. She can continue talking to her. She can actually divert her mind and she kept on whistling while she was working, while she was painting, while she was working in the kitchen. She kept on whistling so that Johnsy's mind can be diverted from her illness, but it did not work. Suddenly Sue heard Johnsy whispering something. She quickly rushed to the bed and heard Johnsy counting backwards. She was looking out of the window and was saying 12. After some time she whispered 11, then 10, then 9, 8, 7, and it continued. Sue anxiously looked out of the window. She saw an old ivy creeper climbing halfway up the brick wall opposite their window. In the strong wind outside, the creeper was shedding its leaves. So all of a sudden something happened which was very unique and very strange thing that happened there. While Sue was working on her project, she was doing something on her project, she heard something. When she went close to Johnsy, she heard that she was actually doing a counting, and it was not like a regular counting 1 2 3 4 5 6. She was actually doing a backward counting, and she was also looking at outside the window at the same time, and the counting went down like this: 12, then 11, then 10. It kept on reducing. The numbers kept on reducing. So what Sue did, she looked out of the window, and there she noticed that on the opposite building, which was just against their house, there was an old ivy creeper. Ivy is the name of a creeping plant. Okay, and it was there on the opposite building, and it was already climbed halfway up the brick wall, and the strong wind was blowing outside, and the leaves from the creeper plant, they were shedding, they were dropping one by one, and those were the leaves that Johnsy was counting. So in the beginning it was 12. There must have been 100 of leaves, but at that particular moment there were only 12 leaves left, and it continued falling onto the ground, and the number kept on reducing. Let's move on. What is it, dear? Sue asked. 6, whispered Johnsy, and they are falling faster now. 3 days ago there were almost 100 leaves, but there are only 5 left now. She said, okay, when I looked at this ivy creeper, there were hundreds of leaves, but now today when I count, there were only 12 in the beginning. Now there are only 5 left on this plant. So it is autumn, said Sue, and the leaves will fall. So she said there is no big deal in it. See, the situation is such, the weather is such, since it is the autumn season, so it is quite natural that the leaves from the plant, they naturally fall. So it's not a big deal. So what she says, when the last leaf falls, see, this line is very important. When the last leaf falls, I will die, said Johnsy with finality, and I have known this for last 3 days. She said very firmly that I am counting these leaves. When the last leaf from this plant drops, that will be the last day of my life. That will be the last moment of my life. When the last leaf falls, I will die, and that is the reason I am looking out of the window. I am looking at this ivy creeper, and I am counting the number of leaves. And 3 days back there were hundreds of leaves on this ivy creeper plant, but now there are only 6 left, and they are continuously falling. So when the last leaf falls, I will die. Oh, that's a nonsense, replied Sue. And what have old ivy leaves to do with your getting well? The doctor is confident that you will get better. So she was very like from the beginning, she was always very worried about Johnsy's condition. She said, you are just talking nonsense. You have gone out of your mind. Your health has got nothing to do with the number of leaves that are present in the ivy plant. So even if they are falling, it's quite natural. It is because it is the autumn time, and during the autumn season the leaves fall from all kind of plants. So it's a natural phenomenon. There is nothing to be worried about, and the doctor is trying his best. He's giving you the best medicines, and I am sure that you will get well very soon. Johnsy did not say anything. She went and brought her bowl of soup. Johnsy did not answer to her question, and what Sue did, she went to the kitchen and she brought a bowl of soup for Johnsy. I don't want any soup, said Johnsy, and I'm not hungry. Now there are only 4 leaves left. I want to see the last leaf fall before it gets dark, and then I will sleep forever. She said, I'm not hungry. I do not want anything to eat. The only thing that I want at this moment is I want to look at this ivy creeper out of my window, and I just want to count the number of leaves, and I want to see all the leaves falling from this plant. And I'm sure when the last leaf falls, and it will happen anytime. I know, I'm pretty much sure about it. So I want to sit myself before it becomes dark, because the night time was approaching, and when the last leaf falls, I will sleep forever. This means I will die. Sue sat on Johnsy's bed, kissed her, and said, "You are not going to die. I cannot draw the curtain, for I need the light. I want to finish the painting and get some money for all of us." She said, "You see, this picture tells us a lot. See, this is the girl Johnsy we are talking about. This is her friend Sue. This is the window. She's lying on her bed and she's looking out of the window. This is the ivy creeper plant that we are talking about. So Johnsy is looking out of the window. She's counting the number of leaves. As you can see, this plant has only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves left. She said, "Okay, I do not want anything at the moment. I just want to look outside the window. I want to count the number of leaves that are there in this ivy plant." And Sue said, "Okay, you are just talking nonsense. You have gone mad. And I really cannot draw the curtain, because I need some natural light." Because why I need some light? Because I need to finish the painting. And like I said in the beginning, that these were artists. So they used to make paintings. They used to sell the paintings in the market. That is how they used to get some money for their daily expenses. So she said, "I need to complete this project, because once this project is done, I will sell it in the market, and then we will get some money. So I cannot draw the curtain. I need some light." She begged Johnsy, "Promise not to look out of the window while I paint." She says, "Okay, no, okay, I understand." Since she insisted that the curtain should not be drawn, she said, "Okay, I will do this for you. Just only request, please make sure that you will not look out of the window, and you will not talk any nonsense, and you will not count the number of leaves, because please believe me, the number of leaves has got nothing to do with your health. Even if they are falling, they will fall, because it's the autumn season. It is quite natural. The leaves, they have to fall." So, "All right," said Johnsy. "Finish your painting soon, for I want to see the last leaf falls. I'm tired of waiting and I have to die. So let me go away peacefully like one of those poor tired leaves." She just repeated herself, and we can understand the kind of mentality that this girl had. She became so disappointed. She became so pessimistic, we can say here, that she says, okay, whatever you say, whatever you do, I don't care. Just finish your painting. And because I just want to look out of the window, I want to look at the last leaf, and I cannot wait anymore. I just want to see when the last leaf falls, and I will die. I just want to leave this world very peacefully. Please do not disturb me. Please do not say me anything at all." She said, "Try to sleep, Sue. I have to paint an old miner. I will call Buhrman up to be my model." She said, "Okay, I want to make a painting of an old miner." Miner is a person who works in mines. And now there is one more character which is introduced in the story, and this name of this person is Mr. Buhrman. Buhrman is actually a painter. He's a 60-year-old man, and he's a painter himself. So she said, "Okay, you don't worry about anything. Do not talk to me, because you are just talking nonsense. You have gone out of your sense. So I have to complete this project. So what I will do, I will call Mr. Buhrman, who used to live in the same building, and he can be my model for the day." So she rushed down. Buhrman lived on the ground floor of the same building. As I said, he was a painter himself. He was a 60-year-old person. He was a painter himself, and he used to live in the same building. So his lifelong dream was to paint a masterpiece that had remained a dream. Sue poured out her worries to Buhrman, and she told him how Johnsy was convinced that she would die when the last leaf fell. So when he came up, she narrated the entire incident. She told about Johnsy's mental condition, and she said that Johnsy wants to die. Somehow she is trying to associate her health with the number of leaves that are there on the ivy plant. So what she has said, when the last leaf falls, that will be the last day of her life. When the last leaf falls, she will die. Buhrman, what he says, Mr. Buhrman was quite a sensible man. He said, "Is she stupid?" asked Buhrman. "And how can she be so foolish? She's running a high temperature," complained Sue. "She refuses to eat or drink, and that worries me a lot." She says, okay, she's suffering from fever. She has been suffering from pneumonia for quite some time now, and she's not eating anything, she's not drinking anything, and that is what worries me a lot. I am very, very much concerned, very much worried about this girl. So I will come up with you and see Johnsy, he said. Buhrman said, okay, don't worry, I'm coming to you. I will come and see you, both of you, in a few moments. I'm just coming. So they tiptoed into the room. Johnsy was sleeping. Sue drew the curtain together and they went to the next room. She peeped out through the window and there was only one leaf on the creeper. So what they did, they went to Johnsy's room where she was lying on the bed. She was not saying anything, and at that moment she was sleeping. Now if you look at this picture, you will understand this is Mr. Buhrman and this is Sue, and this is the same window, and they are standing in Johnsy's room. Now if you see that at this moment there is only one leaf that is left on this ivy creeper. So this girl Sue narrates the entire incident. She says, see, this is the condition. Okay, if you look out of the window, this is the ivy creeper, and on this plant there is only one leaf, and as you can see outside it is raining heavily and the wind is blowing at a very high speed. So it seemed as though the leaf would fall any minute now. Buhrman did not say a word. He went back to his room. So she said, okay, look at the condition. The weather is very, very extreme. It is very cold today and it's going to rain heavily. It is already raining heavily. So what I believe is that there is only one leaf left on this plant and it will fall any moment. And when the last leaf falls, this little girl Johnsy will die. She had already made up her mind, and somehow she has associated her living and non-living. Her existence now depends on the condition of the last leaf. If it stays there, she will be alive. If the last leaf falls, she will die. So Buhrman does not say anything. He doesn't respond, and he just has made up his mind to do something, but he doesn't say anything. He doesn't disclose his plans. He just leaves this room, and what he does, this is something we are going to read in the next few lines. Johnsy woke up the next morning in a feeble voice. She asked Sue to draw the curtain. She was nervous. She drew back the curtain very reluctantly. Oh, Sue exclaimed as she looked at the vine creeper. Look, there is still one leaf on the creeper, on the ivy creeper. So when she woke up the next time, Johnsy, when she woke up the next time, she looked out of the window. She asked Sue to draw the curtain again, and because she wanted to look at the last leaf on the ivy plant. And she was aware that the previous night it was raining very heavily. There was a thunderstorm. There was heavy rain showers, and the wind was icy cold. It was extremely cold, and Johnsy was very confident due to extreme weather the last leaf would have fallen till now, and that is what she wanted to just confirm. So when the curtain was withdrawn, when she looked outside the window, she was very surprised. She could not believe her eyes that the last leaf was still hanging there. It did not fall. And it looks quite green and healthy in spite of the storm and the fierce winds. It did not fall. Sue said, okay, look at this creeper. It's just magic. I do not know how it happened. In spite of the fact that the previous night there was a heavy storm, but the leaf did not fall. On the other hand, it looks very green and it looks very healthy. I heard the wind last night, said Johnsy. I thought it would have fallen. It will surely fall today and then I will die. Okay, she said, okay, fine. The weather was extreme. The wind was icy cold. The leaf did not fall. And the weather is extremely cold today also, and it is going to rain. I can see the clouds, and I will wait for one more day. If this last leaf falls tonight, I will check it the next morning. If it falls, that will be the last day. So my life is extended by one day. You won't die, said Sue energetically. You have to live for your friends. What would happen to me if you die? Now Sue has become a little bit irritated. Why? Because Johnsy had become a little bit selfish, we can say, and Sue is just trying to scold this girl, and she said, you are being selfish. You want to die. I do not know why you do not want to live. You have to live. You just think about me. I am your best friend. What will happen to me if you die? Okay, so just have a trust in yourself. Everything will be absolutely all right. Think about me. Don't think about yourself that since you have decided you want to die, you just need to think about everything else. You have to live if not for yourself, but for your friends at least. Johnsy did not answer. She smiled weakly and closed her eyes. After every hour or so, she would look out of the window and find the leaf still there. It seems to be clinging on the creeper. She did not respond. She closed her eyes and she started sleeping, but every now and then she would look out of the window. She will just wanted to confirm whether a leaf was still hanging on that plant, or it was not hanging. So every time when she would look out of the window, she would be very surprised to see that leaf was still hanging on that plant. It had not fallen. In spite of the extreme weather, the cold, windy atmosphere and icy cold weather, the leaf did not fall. In the evening, there was another storm, but the leaf did not fall. Johnsy lay for a long time looking at the leaf, and then she called out to Sue. That evening also, on the following day, there was a storm. The weather condition was very extreme, but in spite of that, the leaf still did not fall. Johnsy was continuously looking out of the window, and when she noticed that the leaf has not fallen, she called her friend Sue. And now she realizes that it was her mistake. She had become selfish. Now she regrets. What she says here, she says, in the inverted comma it is written, I have been a bad girl. You have looked after me so lovingly, and I have not cooperated with you. I have been depressed and gloomy. The last leaf has shown me how wicked I have been, and I have realized that it is a sin to want to die. Now she realizes whatever is written, see these lines written under inverted comma, this is what Johnsy has said, and she now regrets. She said, I have been a very bad girl because I have been selfish, and now I realize that you were so selfless. You looked after me, and you were so lovable. You took care of me. You called the doctor, and you called Mr. Buhrman also for help, and I was a very foolish person. I did not cooperate with you. I did not help you. I did not even listen to you. And the reason was I was very depressed. I was very disappointed. My mind was absolutely in darkness. I had no idea what I was talking about. I had lost my mind. I had lost my capability of thinking. I did not have any logical reasoning or anything. But when I look at the last leaf, in spite of the extreme weather, the last leaf did not fall. And now I realize that if I want to die, it is actually a sin. So it's kind of a message for those people who have kind of a negative mindset, or who feel that there is a lot of struggle in their life, or who feel that they are totally worthless people. It's actually a message for them. If you think, see, your life is very precious. Whatever qualities God has given you, just work on those qualities. Try to improve yourself, and just be very positive and have a very positive mindset. Even if you continue to fail in your life, that is okay. There are a number of people who failed in their lives and who have failed in their lives. So it is okay to fail. Just have a positive mindset and have a faith in your God, and just keep on doing what you are doing. Sue hugged Johnsy, and then she gave her lots of hot soup and mirrored. Johnsy combed her hair and smiled brightly. Now finally Sue became very happy, and she gave her a lot of soup to eat, and she gave her a mirror and a comb also. She showed Kanga, and then she became a little bit happy. Who? Johnsy. So what happened at the back of the story? This is something we are going to read. What had actually happened? In the afternoon, the doctor came. After examining his patient, he told Sue, Johnsy has now the will to live, and I am confident she will recover soon. Now I must go to downstairs and see Buhrman. He is also suffering from pneumonia, but I am afraid there is no hope for him. So the next day, as usual, the doctor came, and when he examined this girl Johnsy, and the doctor was very happy because Johnsy's condition had improved after this episode that we discussed in the previous paragraph. And the doctor says, I'm very confident, I'm very happy about this girl. She is going to recover and she will not die. I'm pretty much sure about it. Now I have to go downstairs, because as in the story we had already discussed that Mr. Buhrman used to live in the same building at the ground floor. Now the doctor says Mr. Buhrman has been sick. He has been suffering from pneumonia, and I do not think that he is going to live. He will die anytime because his condition is very serious. So I have to go and I have to see him. So the next morning Sue came and sat on Johnsy's bed, taking Johnsy's head in hers, and she said, I have something to tell you. Mr. Buhrman died of pneumonia this morning. So next day, Sue came and she informed Johnsy that a tragedy, something very bad had happened the previous day. Mr. Buhrman had died. And why he died? Since he was suffering from pneumonia, so he died out of pneumonia. His condition was very serious. And how it actually happened, this is something which is it's a secret which is now going to be revealed. And the secret was, he was ill for only 2 days. The first day, the janitor found him on his bed. His clothes and shoes were wet and he was shivering. He had been out in that stormy night. Janitor is actually a caretaker of your building. You can say chowkidar or security guard. So what had happened? See, this whole incident, it just took 2 days. This whole episode took only 2 days. So Sue informs Johnsy that he was sick only for 2 days. So on the first day, the security guard found him. He was lying on bed. Mr. Buhrman was lying on bed. All his clothes were very wet, and he was actually shivering from cold and fever. Because what was the reason? He was out of his house the whole night, and it was continuously raining outside, and the weather was very, very stormy. It was very, very extreme. Then they found a ladder and a lantern still lighted lying near his bed. There were also some brushes and green and yellow paints on the floor near the ladder. Johnsy dear, said Sue, look out of the window. And what the janitor found a ladder means CD, and a lantern means lantern. It was lying near his bed, and there were some paints and some brushes. They were also lying there. Johnsy says, Sue, if you look out of the window, now she reveals the secret. Now the secret is out. She says, if you look out of the window, you look at this last leaf that is still hanging on this ivy plant. Have you wondered that why this leaf did not fall even after the extreme weather it was there for last 2 nights? If you look at this leaf carefully, the leaf does not flutter like the wings of an insect or the wings of a bird. It happens normally when the wind blows, the leaves flutter, they like the wings. So if you look at the leaf very closely, then you will see that leaf does not flutter. It means it is not the natural leaf that was there on the ivy plant. That leaf had already fallen the previous night. But what Mr. Buhrman did, he wanted to actually make a masterpiece. It was his lifelong dream. So what he did, he remained outside his house throughout the night. It was raining heavily. It was a stormy night, and he kept on making that painting. And what he actually painted was that ivy leaf that you are looking at right now. So that's Buhrman's masterpiece. He painted it the last night, the night the last leaf fell. So if you look at this leaf outside the window, it's not the natural leaf that was hanging on this ivy plant before. It is the painting actually, which was made by Mr. Buhrman. He was out for 2 days continuously, and therefore he suffered from pneumonia, and consequently he lost his life. He died. So it's not the actual leaf that you are looking at, the natural leaf. It is actually the masterpiece that was painted by Mr. Buhrman. Thank you very much for staying with us. Those who have not subscribed this channel, I request them to subscribe this channel. If you have any questions on this video, anything that you want to ask, any doubts you have, then please ask questions in the comment section. And how did you like this video? If you want to suggest something about this video, please do let me know. Thank you very much for being with us. Have a nice day.